Hello friends, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is inspired by the bunch of DMs I've been getting on how I annotate my books, because I've been recently posting different methods of me taking notes on certain books I am reading, and I kind of wanted to just address them all in a video because so many people have been asking me what I use, how I do it, etc, etc. I've been waiting on a while to do this video because I've kind of been working out how I annotate books for myself for a while. I actually have 3 different methods I'm going to be sharing in this video depending on a bunch of different things, whether or not you have certain materials, if you want to write in your books, those kinds of things. So yeah, for those of you that don't know, annotating is simply just when you take notes on a book, use those notes to analyze or further develop your understanding or knowledge of a certain text you're reading. Not much to it. Basically, it's just taking notes as you read. If you want to know any of these 3 methods, just keep on watching because we are going to jump right in with method number 1. This method is definitely the easiest on the list and requires basically no materials. Personally, what I use is my phone, the Notes app specifically, and then your book. That's all you need. I'm using this book right here as an example, Wildcard by Marie Lu, because I did a book talk on this video. You can click up here to go watch it if you're interested. And this is the method I used for that video. All I did was open my Notes app on my phone and simply just typed in the events as they happen. I actually think I might have it still, so I will pull that up. Okay, so I found the note. I will project it up here. Basically, what I have in this note is actually more in detail than I remember, but I have every single character that is mentioned. Obviously, that is not necessary. I got some of the settings that were mentioned. Then we also have the info section, which is the main part of what I'm doing, is essentially writing in key things that happened as well as the page number they happened on. That way I can always go back to them for reference. That is the simplest form of annotating that I count as annotating because I am technically taking notes as I'm reading. I am just not marking up the physical book copy. So if you look at that video, everything that you just saw in that little Notes app thing is essentially all the information I used to make that video. It was kind of my own opinions and all that kind of stuff. So this is the annotation method that I use if I just want to get like a base idea down and want to just remember certain things that happened. If you have any questions about it, comment down below and I'll be happy to answer them. Moving on to method number 2. Now, that annotating method that I previously mentioned, method number 1 that I use, is kind of just the easiest, most straightforward kind of annotating because it's really quick and fast. This one, on the other hand, is time consuming, and I'm just gonna dive right in. So for this annotating method, you will need a notebook, a pen, and then your book. The reason I choose to use a notebook for this one is because we go more in depth with stuff and I find it easier to see it all laid out on paper rather than my small phone screen. I've taken off the cover of this book, but the reason I have chosen Again But Better by Christine Riccio for this example here is because I'm actually going through this book right now and using this method of annotation. As you can see here, I have a bunch of notes. I actually have 2 pages of notes for this book, and I'm rereading it actually to get more notes. So this is what I'm using, and so I am currently taking a lot of notes on this book, and so I thought it would be a good example. I am choosing this method because I wanted to do a book review on it, but I didn't want to write in the book, so I thought writing on a separate sheet of paper would help keep all of those intact. So the way I organize my notebook is pretty simple. I just have my 2-page spread. I have 5 subheadings. We have character, plot/world building, discussion/problematic things, romance, and favorite moments. So while I used to consider myself a plot-based reader, I now actually consider myself a character-based reader, as character is a huge part of all books and can really keep a story driving forward. So hence, first one is characters. Then we have plot and world building. For plot, I kind of put like key things that happen and other things like that. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Next, there is like problematic discussion things. This is just in case like I see anything I want to talk about. They tend to be kind of in the same category, discussion and problematic. Sometimes they're just discussion, but I find they work well together and that they're also just all in the spot where I want to be like, hey, I really want to come back to these specific points. Then we have romance, which honestly is just because I enjoy reading romance and stories and I just like seeing all the cute or even like breakup moments that happen in stories. I think they can be really powerful to a story and really elevate it to the next level, or they could end up in the problematic section because they just took the story down. And then just favorite moments are things I probably just want to mention because I enjoyed them in the story, and that's about it. Favorite moments is pretty obvious, but those are the 5 subheadings that I use. And so I tend to write the little sentence I have, whether it's an observation or a quote, as well as the page number, and then once I am done reading, I will go through all my notes and I will type whatever I've gone up, or I'll look back in the book to see what I was talking about. This method I would recommend for if you don't physically want to write in your book, because for this book I really like it. This book with no cover on, as well as with the cover on, I didn't really want to not ruin it, but I didn't really want to mark it up because I just thought it looked really pretty without all of that. So that is why I chose not to write in the book, and I thought writing on a separate piece of paper would be the better option. So if you do have a book you want to take more in-depth notes on but you don't want to write in it, I would suggest my method number 2 for what you want. Again, if you have any questions on this method, be sure to comment them down below. And finally, moving on to method number 3, and honestly my most preferred method when annotating books, it is the sticky note method. I think it looks the best, and I'll jump into why I like it. Now for this method, obviously you need a pen, you need some sticky notes. I use these 5 colors from the Post-it note brand. I don't know what that's called, but these are the ones I use. And also, you'll need your book. I have chosen to use the Kite Runner as an example because this is actually, I think, my best job annotating a book that I've done, as well as typing up my notes, because this book I need to annotate for school, so I want to do a really good job on it. And so my notes are really extensive and they dive right into all the categories I want to talk to. Also, be sure to see a book review for this book soon, as well as Again But Better. So essentially, I use the same 5 categories as I mentioned before: character, plot, discussion, problematic, romance, and favorite moments for this. I use green for characters, purple for plot, orange for favorite moments, blue for problematic, and pink for romance. So anytime you see any colors in there, that's what they'll mean. For example, I'll pick out this purple tab, I will open the book up, and you'll see here I've written whatever it is that I found important. I've underlined the quote right here, and that is how I do this method of annotation. I kind of just go along, and if I see something worth noting, I will tab it, underline it, add a little explanation why, and then move on and keep reading. I find this the best way because, one, it is really satisfying to see your progress as you go through a book. It's also really easy to find quotes or remember certain things because honestly I don't remember much about this book, but when I typed out my notes I was able to be like, oh yeah, I remember reading this, and I'm able to dive even further and really analyze the text further, and also just help me get a hopefully better mark in the class. This method of annotating is probably the most time consuming because you have to place the tab, underline it, write your significance. You understand what I mean. So it is the most time consuming, but I do think it is the most rewarding and most effective way of annotating, at least for me personally. If you are trying to annotate a little bit faster, I would recommend the notebook method. So if you have any questions about method number 3 and my favorite method that I use, be sure to comment them down below. I'll be happy to help. And those are the 3 methods that I use. Nothing too hard or nothing too expensive. The tabs do tend to get expensive if I use a lot of them for a certain book. Other than that, they're all pretty affordable, pretty easy to use, and yeah. I personally like annotating books because I remember things better. It's kind of fun, not gonna lie, especially writing in a book. But yeah, I overall really enjoy the process of it. I think it just helps me understand things better and also catch certain things I might have missed the first time I read or can actually catch the first time reading. So yeah, as I said, if you have any questions about any of the methods I use, just comment them down below. I'll be happy to answer. And yeah, I think that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and comment down below any questions you might have. I will see you all very soon with a new video. So until then, bye.